we've got the 3 consecutive class summons happening right now. MOAS for Knights, and then Cure All Magic Wand for Soul Weavers into Master of the Nightmare for Thieves. So let's quickly go over, should you be summoning any of these, also like just what the artifacts do, who uses them, plus all the circumstances surrounding these banners, because there's quite a lot of stuff going on in Epic 7 right now. We have the triple group summon happening right now, this thing here. So you're gonna have to spend a lot of bookmarks on this, and that might make it a bit hard to summon on the class summons. Also, the timing of these banners is pretty important, because this banner ends in 2 days, right, on the 20th, and then Cure All Magic Wand starts. The anniversary stream is on the 22nd, so we'll have a lot more news by the time Cure All Magic Wand's banner comes around. And for Cure All Magic Wand, you can even wait all the way until the notes for the upcoming maintenance. You know that the way Epic 7 does stuff is 3 weeks, you have everything pretty much put together, so there's not really going to be any surprises. 3 weeks is more than enough time to start saving up, assuming that like there's no unit released in this time frame from 8/27 to 9/3, which there probably will be, but it'll give you a lot better idea of how you should manage your resources. One more thing is we have, of course, the track on all these class summons gives you some summons back. You get 10, 25, 25 bookmarks back for hitting these breakpoints. This is 12 rolls saved basically on your way to 120, 10% pretty much. And then also, we have the Summon Payback event. 25% of your bookmarks are just returned to you. I did 240 rolls, so I got 60 rolls back. These time-limited bookmarks don't count towards like the refund, so you have to use them up before you'll start gaining them again. But the bookmarks that you get from the summon track are just normal bookmarks. Like, these bookmarks that you get here will count towards that. So that is just worth mentioning, because you'll be able to save quite a bit of bookmarks when you're rolling all of this. Now, of course, I do think that the custom group summon is higher priority. I think pretty much, like, it's really hard to end up in a situation where you're not going to be picking something that is going to be more valuable than the class summons, but if you have a lot of resources to work with, then I think you can potentially dip into these. Just make sure when you're rolling, you want to be able to aim for 120 on all of them. So let's take a look and see what these artifacts are good for, who they're good for, and everything. So MOAS first. I'm just going to, well, let me see if I can click on this. It's not what I meant to do. Alright, so I'm going to go to the 2 main users, which is Boss Runka and Shadow Knight Phyllis. You can see MOAS has recommended here. When you attack with a single target attack, chance to inflict additional damage proportional to the caster's defense on the target. The main use for this is honestly in Guild War, I think. There's some comps in Guild War where you can run a Boss Runka on MOAS and have her as a solo DPS. In certain team comps, you just run Boss Runka with like Rowana and another tank. And there's certain comps where she can kind of solo DPS through it. Sometimes you'll see it on the Guild War bot. When you pull up a thing, you'll see Boss Runka plus 2 tanks. The way you deal damage is through this artifact. Notably, it does need plus 30 in order to increase its proc chance, which is a bit rough because it's hard to justify bottling this artifact, I think. We have the custom group summon going on right now. There's better artifacts available in there. Summer Photogenic is really, really strong. Sweet Miracle is really good depending on who you have. There's also Young Senya's artifact, I think, needs plus 30 for consistency. There's also Glorious Flag, Sacred's artifact, depending on who you have, and if you have anybody that you want to use it on, that also needs plus 30. So it's kind of hard to bottle this, but I think in a lot of Guild Wars situations, depending on what comp you're using, sometimes you don't really need the plus 30. Like, unless you're getting super hard gear gap and you really need to kill the DPS that quietly, most of these like auto quick battle comps with Boss Runka, I mean, they're auto/quick battle. You're just kind of hoping on counter procs in the first place. And like you'll do damage on your hit too, but like a lot of it is just spamming counters. So missing a couple of procs here and there isn't really going to kill you. I think this works fine at plus 15 for a lot of Guild War applications. There's also the fact that her main build for RTA doesn't even use this right now. She's kind of just built as a protection knight with Crown of Glory, a ton of protection for the team, more so than like a sub DPS with the MOAS. A lot of HP, bit of defense, a bit of F-res. Might want a bit more F-res and exchange some defense for it. Might be a bit better. But basically, MOAS isn't super prevalent right now. Even in Guild Wars, some of the comps that you use Boss Runka in, like the Nurse Leaf comp, where you use Boss Runka, you just kind of have her on damage reduction stuff still. So it's also used on Shadow Knight Phyllis, like I mentioned, for pretty much the same reasons as Boss Runka. The Boss Runka has her only target front thing. It's just a random build. Shadow Knight Pillis has damage reduction on extra attacks instead. So there's some comps where you can use Shadow Knight Pillis to either the same effect or better for Guild War. They pretty much have the same use case. I think overall this artifact isn't super high priority. It can be nice to have a copy of, though, if you don't have, or if you have the resources to afford it. So next up is Cure All Magic Wand. Cure All Magic Wand is Soul Weaver artifact. It's a copy of Guardian Ice Crystals. Heals the ally that drops below 50% HP after their attack. And its cooldown is really short, like once per turn. This means that you kind of want to run it on a Soul Weaver that isn't super slow. But even then, it can still have use sometimes, because let's just say like there's a unit that's going to be focused down. If they don't get straight up one shot, when they get dropped below half, suddenly they get healed quite a bit of HP, and it just makes them harder to kill, because now they have, or the enemy has more HP to burn through before they can actually properly kill the target. That is pretty significant. It is worth mentioning that it does require them not dying. Like, if they just get one shot from full HP, then this artifact doesn't do anything. If they get dropped below 50% HP and then like they get killed anyways after the heal, that also kind of sucks. I think especially in like slower fights, this artifact tends to have a lot of value, because if they're basically just like getting a unit below half and not consistently killing them, this artifact's going to be pumping out heals. One thing though is this artifact is kind of like reactive, I would say. Like, it doesn't do anything until the enemy hits you, which the enemy is going to hit you. But if you want something more actively healing you, that would be something like Celestine or like Unfading Memories. Every time you take a turn, you heal the entire team. So that is like kind of a difference between some of these artifacts. I think it's solid, and it can be used in like a wide variety of Soul Weavers. Like, if you don't know what artifact to put on somebody and it's Soul Weaver, this artifact tends to be like pretty decent most of the time. And then quickly, the last one, Master of the Nightmare. It's a cheese artifact. Gives you a bit of attack, and then after you use a basic skill on your turn, so you can't dual attack cheese it. Has a chance to give you an extra turn once per turn, so you can't infinitely loop or anything. But this is really just cheese for like Tori, because you can S1, get a Cascade proc, and then S1 again with the Cascade proc. Lets you basically just randomly do twice the amount of damage, which is pretty crazy. She does really like Summer Photogenic, but one thing right now is with the prevalence of LQC, LQC is damage reduction, not damage share. So she can't ignore it with Photogenic, unfortunately, which Photogenic lets you play stuff like Estelle and ROL, but LQC kind of just really makes it hard. So I think this artifact is mainly just for cheese. Between the three, I would say it's the lowest prio. I showed it a bit in the tier list for the group summon, but I think these are mostly just like B artifacts, with Master of Nightmare being the C down here. It's a pretty niche use case. These two kind of go up here. They see a bit of use, but they're not like super high priority. I would honestly probably, yeah, well, it's really just going to depend on your resources. I hope this kind of just gives you a bit of an idea of who uses what artifacts and their use cases. We will get news on like the anniversary stuff coming up. So MOAS is mainly the hardest decision, just because we're not going to have any news by the time the banner closes. But if you're summoning on this or the group summon, good luck with your summons.